Ladies and gentlemen, the EV takeover is happening, and it's going to be happening sooner than you think. So right now, Renault, VW, and BMW are complaining that it is not fair to the European Union that they have to switch their cars to fully electric. The CEOs of the automakers are saying things like this is not fair, and they're putting too much pressure on these car companies to start switching to a EV or just hybrids in general. Like, they're getting very upset about this because this is not something that they've been doing for years. They're saying things like, the customers are not buying our cars, and I don't think that it's fair that we have to switch up our entire plan, what we've been doing for years, based off of whether people want or do not want EVs at all. And also they're saying other things like they can't make them fast enough because the demand is getting too high, and they're just really feeling flustered. There's a lot of pressure on these car companies because they've been making engines only. That's all they know. That's what they've been doing great. Yes, of course, they do have electric vehicles, but not at scale to the point to where they're pumping them out and making great profits. So in 2035, the European Union is going to ban cars with engines, gasoline, or diesel. They cannot be made anymore, or you are going to get fined out the butt. It is just over. Remember that 2035 in Europe, you can no longer make cars with engines. This is the law. So in 2025, the European Union said that if you're going to be making cars, they better be 25% lower in emissions that are coming from gasoline or fleet vehicles. They say that for every car that's on the road, it has to have less CO2 emissions being put out into the air. They're saying it has to drop another 25%. So yeah, pretty much this is just really outrageous for them because all they make is cars with engines, and now they're expecting them to make engines that let out less, CO2 emissions or fumes and all that stuff. And this is where they're getting frustrated because this is what engines do. They let this type of stuff out. So they're basically forcing them into making EVs or hybrids, and people are getting upset about this, but mainly the companies that are making these cars. Now, this part is just really funny. Okay, so carbon credits. Basically, you get carbon credits for every electric vehicle that you make or a hybrid. So basically, like Tesla, all they make is cars with batteries. So they get carbon EV credits for every car they make. So this is where things get really funny. So for every car that you make that is not carbon efficient or an electric vehicle or a hybrid, you're going to get fined around $102 US for every single car that they make. And these people are pumping out millions of cars a year. And you can only imagine that type of debt will stack up against you. For every car you make, you're going to get charged $102 US. So the part that's really funny is Tesla only gets EV credits. So these car companies have been buying these EV credits from Tesla so they can offset the amount of carbon credits that they don't have. So if you make a car that is not electric and you get fined $102, then they buy a credit from Tesla and reverses that fine, but they still had to come out of pocket so they can get, look good on paper. But in the total of the past 4 years, Tesla has made $9 billion from other car companies buying their EV credits. Think about that. Tesla made $9 billion for doing nothing. They were being handed money from their competitors who are trying to stay in business. But at the same time, they're forking up billions of dollars, which is making them lose money, which can, if this continues, they'll just go out of business. The competitors are paying to go out of business. So basically, every year, Tesla's making about $2 billion out of thin air from just having EVs on their lots. And this is making car companies pay to be put out of business. This is ridiculous. And guess how much it costs for Tesla to build a brand new factory? About $2 billion, about $2.5 billion. And they're just getting free money so they can build factories for free. That's crazy. So basically, your car that has a gasoline engine can only let off a certain amount of CO2 fumes, a certain percentage, and the European Union just dropped it. So BMW, they're really pissed because they were on track to be 20% lower than the set target that the European Union created. But then the European Union dropped it further down, which is making it now harder for BMW to hit that target. And they were on track to do it, but now they were just like, nope, clink, 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 tighten the reins, and it just changed everything for them. So basically, BMW, they are on par to be 50% electric vehicles only by 2030. But then 5 years later, they can't make any more cars with engines. So even though they're going to be 50% electric by 2030, In the next 5 years, that's it for them. So all their cars with engines have to be done. That's it. They can't make them in Europe anymore. They can sell them elsewhere, but it's over in Europe. So that's just a few years away, pretty much 11 years from now. That's going to be the reality for BMW. And we'll see how this turns out. So yeah, you can see why these major car companies are getting really pissed off and panicking because the pressure is getting so heavy for them that they are literally scrambling. And not only that, they're writing letters to the government to try to turn this around because they feel like this is unfair. It's not even possible. There's too much pressure. How are they going to do this? All they know is engines, and they're getting penalized for making the cars that they only know how to make. Now, to all my engine lovers who just love those engines, those strong, fierce, aggressive sounding engines. Even I was a big lover of that. Trust me, I know. But check this out. So it's very obvious that there's lots of data that's coming from the World Health Organization. All right. They have plenty of data that shows that basically gasoline cars are causing cancer. Diesel, gasoline, like we've been breathing in these emissions for a while. And now they can see through our lungs from certain people that, yeah, this is actually linked from gasoline and diesel engines where some people are getting lung cancer. And of course, you don't really give a crap because it's not happening to you. I mean, let's be honest. People smoke cigarettes well knowing that they're going to get cancer from continuously smoking these cigarettes, but they don't really care until the cancer hits. So, I mean, you can only imagine, of course, a lot of people don't give a crap at all until it happens to them. And you're just like, oh, wow, now I have lung cancer. And then that's when people typically want to change when it's too late. But this is the thing, is that gasoline and diesel engines are definitely linked to lung cancer. But like I said, people don't give a crap because people are still smoking cigarettes and they don't care until they get cancer. Then they stop. So millions of people a day are being surprised that they get lung cancer. Truck drivers or people who are working around engines all the time. And we're like, I don't understand how I got cancer. I don't even smoke. To find out it was from the gasoline cars and diesel emissions. But the funny thing about all this is that these major car companies, they can turn all this around. They have plenty of time to switch to completely EVs and hybrids, but there's reasons why they don't want to do it. So right now they say the average amount of dollars lost for every EV coming from major car companies is about $6,000 they're losing on each EV. But that's not true for all because Ford is losing $40,000 on every electric vehicle that they sell. Yes, literally, they're losing money for every EV they sell. And not only that, Lucid is losing $300,000 for every car they sell. And their cars don't even sell for that price. This is absurd. This is really happening. Trust me, look it up. And the only reason these car companies are losing money on their electric vehicles is because they're not making them at scale. If you make them in low volumes, you're going to lose money. Once they start making them in the millions, then it will offset that and they can start making money. But this is the problem. They don't want to switch over to doing EVs. They don't want to switch over to making EVs because all they know is engines. And if they were to switch over and start making EVs, they will lose some money and they will lose their earnings that they make because this is the main reason why they don't want to switch. Honestly, it's not because they hate EVs. It's because they're making record profits right now that has never been seen. And for them to turn their entire business around, they're going to take a major pay cut, like a major pay cut. And they don't want to go through that. Who's going to be willing to all of a sudden be making about $1 million a year to about maybe, who knows, $400,000 a year? It is a big cut. And these guys have big fancy lifestyles. So they feel like they don't want to turn back on the amount of money that they're getting. Instead of being concerned about health and doing things that are better, like, making EVs, which are healthier for the environment when it comes to the emissions being released from the gasoline and diesel. I'm not talking about making EVs. Of course, some people will argue that making EVs, the plants that create these EVs do let off a lot of, emissions, but the cars, once they leave, they're not letting out gasoline anymore. So these people do not want to switch from their plan because they don't want to take these pay cuts and they really don't care too much about what the public thinks because they are the ones who are profiting off of the public. So yeah, I mean, this is just all about money. Like think about Nokia or Kodak or the BlackBerry. They were put completely out of business and they were the leaders like for years, but they were like, forget the future. We don't care. We don't want to listen to what's changing. Things are changing. Like then all of a sudden, the iPhone comes out, touchscreen, no more buttons. And Kodak, I mean, think about it. These guys were in the lead forever and they didn't want to listen to the future or this or digital cameras and they got wiped out. The same thing will happen down the line for cars with engines. I mean, you don't have to believe me, but this is what's going to happen. There's going to be a point in the future where these companies did not listen and make the change to stay in business because they want to hold on to their profits. And then they end up going out of business and have no more profits to collect. But trust me, the ones who are at the top of these companies are going to walk away fine. Not the workers, the ones who are running it, they're going to walk away fine with millions of dollars in their pockets. But the people who are working for these companies are going to be the ones who get the bad end of the stick. So the CEOs of these car companies in Europe are saying to the government that, hey, this isn't fair. Like, if we can't just make engines, we're going to be taken over by the Chinese market. Basically, the Chinese EVs like BYD and others are going to swing into Europe and pretty much destroy the European car market with Chinese ones. And they don't want this to happen. But like I said, they could easily turn this around, but they don't want to take these pay cuts. So this is why they're going to put themselves out of business because of pride and greed. So, like I said, these car companies are pissed. There's too much pressure. They feel like it's unfair to get all this done in the next 11 years. But the truth is that if they were to just start now, investing heavily and turning the ship, they could have a chance to keep producing cars. But they don't want to because they don't really care about what's good for the environment. They just want what's good for themselves. Well, thanks for tuning in. I hope you guys found that video interesting. Be sure to tune in tomorrow because I'm posting videos daily about what's going on in the auto market, Tesla, big tech, and all sorts of things. See you guys next time. Peace. See you tomorrow.